You are on the lifeboat. Good to see everybody this Saturday morning. Da, da, da. You know what? Cameras. There you go. There you go. Sorry about that. All right, peeps. So, Scooby, you are forgiven for not catching the show last night. No big deal. Miss Hermital, Kentucky, we hope that there's no damage when you go outside and check. Hopefully everything is in good shape. There definitely should be a constitutional amendment outlawing the manufacture and sale of fake maple syrup. It is an issue that needs to be addressed. Also, the comment from Christopher that said, you know what, I found out the hard way. You really have to let that, keep that stuff in a refrigerator. If you do not keep that stuff in a refrigerator, all you then have to do is chisel out, the crusty stuff on the outside, all of it, right? And then just get it into a pot and cook it. And it will go right back to its beauty. Truthfully, the really old timers in Vermont never refrigerated it because there was so much. They would make enough for 4 or 5 years and they would just fill a barn with it. And it would go summer, winter, summer, winter. Stuff's pretty tough, but you just have to be able to reconfigure it. The dry cough is awful. And, green mold. Yeah, that shouldn't have been the syrup. That maybe something else was going on. A lot of times, I read this too about milk. If you take milk and you drink out of it, like out of the carton, and get another carton that you don't do that to, the one that you drank out of will begin to rot almost instantly because apparently we just got a lot of funk going on or something to that effect. All right, peeps. This is a subject that we have touched on. I can't remember how many times. It's a big one, and we come back to it really often. This one might be a little bit different than what we've done in the past, but the concept is pretty similar. I'm going to start off with a little story, and there may be a couple of little stories today. But I was going to see a concert in Houston, Texas. It was going to be 2 entertainers on stage at the same time, 2 artists. It was hey Paul. It was Billy Joel and Elton John, and I was with my wife, and we had a friend named Emily. And Emily invited her friend, whose name shall remain anonymous because, well, this is a lot about her. So we'll just keep her name protected. The girl had she was bleach blonde, 5'9". She had a bunny about this big, right? Made of diamonds that hung on a gold rope chain around her neck. And, it's one of those things that really jumps out at you. And my wife said to her, "Is that the bunny from Playboy?" And this girl replied, "Yeah, Hef gave it to me." This girl was a Miss March in Playboy, and she was in Houston to judge the Miss Hawaiian Tropic contest or some such. About the 3rd time I went out to buy Dome Foam, which is what they used to call the beer, she came out as well and said, I guess what you would call a pickup line, only the most foul thing. And at the time I thought, wow, I was so impressed. And I look back now and I think to myself, how in God's name did I not run like hell when she said that? How did I not run like hell? And the truth of the matter is, I was blinded. And I ended up spending a good deal of time with this person. In fact, at one point she lived in our home. And so I got to see her interact with people over the course of about a year. And everybody that came in contact with this person was blinded. As it turns out, all of that beauty was hiding one of the ugliest people I have ever met in my life. Truthfully. I mean, to the core. Just one of the meanest and just nastiest souls honestly, I pray for this person. I hope all is well. I hope that she has turned her life around. But and I don't mean it wasn't like she was in the gutter or anything like that. She was just cruel, just ugly. We talked yesterday about we kind of plateau and you get to a point where you really start designing who you're going to be in your next life, right? How is this going to be for the next life? Full of hope. Good to see you this morning. Looking good and green. Oh, Lady Crispin. Sounds like my last so-called girlfriend. You know what? And my last wife. Like I picked them. But I didn't pick them based on whether or not they were beautiful. I picked them based on whether or not they were pretty. And those are two really different things. So as you start to design the new person, who you're going to be, I promise you, you can be whatever you want to be. And you can be whoever you want to be. People have a real struggle with this. There's an expression, can a leopard change its spots? Probably not. But that leopard could decide to hang out with the gazelle, and the two of them could be best of friends, right? That kind of bizarre crap happens in nature, right? It happens all the time. You see mice that hang out with and sleep with cats, right? All the time, just bizarre. So can a leopard change its spots? No. I'm just under 6'3". Now I'm probably down to 6'2" because I'm shrinking over time. I can't be 6'1". Right? I can't be 5'11", and I can't be 6'6". There are things that are just genetically the way they are. I don't believe personality has anything to do with that. I think that is your personality is based on the things that you see as you're growing up, and then the decision you make when you're old enough. Because I'll tell you something, people, there's just no way to do justice to the person I was compared to the person I am. I'll tell you another story. I was riding with somebody on McCarran Boulevard in Reno. And, they're sometimes in cities, they're called spaghetti bowls. It's where the on-ramps, make almost a complete 360 so that, they can get people on and off of highways. Well, this is the same thing, except it's taking you to a feeder road. It's just a 2-lane deal. And then a quarter of a mile up, you get on the freeway. But I was going around that little circle, and I was in the passenger seat. And I said, we just passed a wallet. And we were going 40. I don't know how I spotted a wallet. And it was late at night. And the driver jammed on the brakes, put it in reverse, right? I'm telling you, people, this is like a 360. And you're coming almost out of the woods. If anybody had come around that corner, it was going to be an accident, and it was going to be a bad accident. I got out and grabbed it. And absolutely, it was a leather wallet. And I said, drive. Inside the wallet was a person's ID, a person's credit cards. There was $140 cash. Of course, it didn't look like $140 cash to me. It looked like 21 bags of dope. And then inside were 2 paychecks. And this guy made decent money. If I found that wallet today, I would call that person and say, hey, I got your wallet. Still got the cash in it. It's got your paychecks in it, your credit cards. You don't have to cancel any of that stuff. I'm the guy that found it. I got it for you. Come get it. That's not what I did. I abused the person that owned that wallet in ways you can't imagine. First of all, I went into the nastiest casino in town because they will cash paychecks. And if you say, I don't have my ID, they just make you put a thumbprint on the check. And if you go like this, right, it looked like a Rorschach print. It didn't look anything like a thumb, someone was taking a fingerprint or a thumbprint. When it was all said and done, I probably stole $8,000 from this guy between paychecks, credit cards, the cash that was in the wallet. And as I get older, and as I changed my spots, I think of the damage. It wasn't just losing money. I damaged this cat, and I didn't give a crap. I didn't, because that's who I was. So when the time comes to change who you're going to be, choose beautiful. It doesn't make any sense if you don't become a much better human being. this whole sobriety thing is a clean slate. It gives you an opportunity to say, that was what I used to be, and that was a product of drugs. This is who I am going to be, and it's going to be a product of me, my faith, my dedication, and my beliefs. This is what I want me to be. This is who I want to be. This is what I want the world to think of me. As far as the changing of the spots, people, every once in a great while, I will come across somebody, or somebody will figure out a way to find me, and they'll say, so what are you doing with yourself? And when I tell them about the lifeboat, every time it's the exact same thing. People are like, all right, what's the angle? Right? Because there's just no way I would have been doing this without an angle. If it was not one of those, if it was not a situation where I was going to figure out a way to get rich off of it, then I probably wasn't going to be doing it. And I sure as hell would not be taking phone calls at 2:00 in the morning to try to help somebody stay sober. But I have seen the miracle. I have been the miracle. Don't just get chemical free. Make yourself the best version of you that you can possibly be. And I know that I use this guy as an example probably too often, but there's just no getting around it. I am the noise opera. You want to talk about a dude that changed his spots? There's no way to describe who he was without using the word hate 2 or 3 times, because he hated society. He hated anybody that had ever done drugs. He hated anybody that ever sold drugs. The amount of hate that was in this person was frightening. Truthfully, frightening. At one point, there were probably half a book that he had written me, and I read every single line of it, and I thought, I pray for this cat. This he's in a bad way. And the person he is today is absolutely beautiful. There's no other way to put it. He's a person that changed his spots. So the next time somebody says, can a leopard change his spots? I think the appropriate answer probably would be, it all depends on whether or not the leopard really wants to change its spots. Right? Because if you really want to change who you are, it's not as complicated as people make it out to be. It really isn't. It is a choice. Make no mistake, it is a choice. And it's a choice that gets made again and again and again and again. Might be 25 times a day, might be 150 times a day, but you get an opportunity to be beautiful. I was I was picking up my prescription. I've told this story. And I walked up, I had Johnny on the phone, and I walked up with the phone to my ear, and I was pulling my ID out, right? And I'm doing this number, sort of holding the phone up there. And the woman said, I'm not going to, we don't serve anyone if they're talking on the telephone. I can't fill your prescription if you're on the phone. And it was not nice. The way she said it was not nice. Now, if you really want to be the change, if you really want to be a better person, then you defer to being beautiful. Before you get angry, before you do anything, you just, okay. And then usually afterwards, you'll start doing the stuff that will change you for the long haul, right? Like I made a mistake right there at the window. But as I was driving out of it, and I did go back and apologize, by the way, but as I was driving away, I was thinking to myself, I don't know what happened to this girl this morning, right? I don't know. Maybe somebody rear-ended her at a red light. Maybe she had to drop her kid off at the hospital. You just don't know what anyone else is going through. And you don't give a crap if you're the center of your own universe. If everything in life revolves around you getting a substance into your body, then you really don't care what happened to that girl that morning. What do I care? Her job was to be nice to me and hand me the prescription. That's who I was for 46 years. And when you go through the process of the whole discovery, and you're going through sort of exploring how you ended up where you did, trying to find what you were running from. What was the drug taken away? Because it doesn't give anything, right? Opiates do not give a damn. They don't give a thing. You get nothing. All they do is take away. They'll take away pain, admittedly. They'll take away friends. They'll take away God. They'll take away money. They'll take away security. And then eventually they'll take away health and then freedom. And then they get to the very last rung and they try to take away your hope. And I've watched people who were unable to pump the brakes, even after becoming incarcerated or doing whatever. And, the hope is gone. Bad things happen when the hope is gone. And indeed, they usually happen in there right around Christmas. And you could see it coming. People would go up and try to talk to these individuals and say, hey, man, you all right? Come on out and talk to me if you're bummed out. But once somebody loses hope, it's the saddest thing in all of humanity. It really is. Especially because you begin to think about what might have been. What would have happened if this person didn't go down that road? Right? Well, here's the deal. There's time to get off the road that you're on. But it's a conscious choice. And it's one that you make over and over and over again. And it's not just a matter of making the choice to not go buy booze or to make the choice to not, do drugs. Those are all important things. They really are. They're important things. But if you take that to the next level, and if you start saying, I really am going to treat people the way I wish I was treated. That's what I'm going to do. Crazy things begin to happen, right? Crazy things begin to happen. In my business, I refund people. Everybody gets a refund. I don't argue with them. People have mailed back watches that I know they took the back off of and just trying to see what was going on with it and damaged the watch. It's gotten to the point now where if the watch is worth more than about $400 or $500, I film it before I ship it out. I film me putting it through all of the motions. I film it on the time grapher machine. And last week I got a call from someone that said the winding stem is broken, and like he was going through all of these different things that were wrong with it. And I said, okay, mail it back. I'll fix it. No problem. I said, I'm going to send you an email. Give me your email address. And then I sent him an email of what this thing looked like. And I didn't yell at him. And the end of the email, I said, obviously, something really bad happened in shipping. No big deal. You mail it back. And I finished by saying, and then you let me know what you want us to do. I can credit you in the store so that you can go shopping and buy something else. I can repair that watch to perfect and mail it back to you if that's the watch you really dig. Or I can give you a full refund and even cover the shipping price of it coming back. That, people, is not who I was. I promise you that's not who I was. In the first season, I went over and helped a guy put down a deck. You guys probably remember this. The guy was in his 80s, and he was really good to my dad, especially at the end when my dad was struggling. My dad fell once, and the guy came over at like 4 a.m. to help my father get up, and the guy was an ace. So if that dude needs help, I'm going to give it to him. And I remember going over there, and I was told that he needed help picking up 2 of the boards because of the length of them. And couldn't saw them because of the length of them. And when I got there, he said, you ever done anything like this before? And I said, yeah, I really have. I've done a lot of stuff like this. And I spent 8 hours with him the first day. I came back here just to shoot a video and then went directly back. And I'm not telling you this to brag. I promise you I'm not. I'm telling you this because there's not a day that goes by that I'm not blown away at just how far a person can change from who they were. It's astounding. And currently, I'm working on other things. I've got so much still wrong with me, people. I am horrendously flawed. And that's not exactly how Mr. Hunt said it. Atrociously? How did you put that, M. Hunt? Is my cat with me? My cat's always with me. Yeah, I don't go anywhere without Squirrel. You know what? If you're new to the lifeboat, you have to hear this story. I'm going to squirrel off for a brief second because I think this is a story that everybody needs to hear. So it was about November, a couple of Novembers ago, and I said, I'm thinking of getting a cabin cat, and you guys can watch the cat grow up because I'm a big cat person. So I said, and I'm going to go get one that's incarcerated. I'm going to go get one out of a cage. The ones that aren't going to have a great future if somebody doesn't get them. So I went in, and squirrel is beautiful. But if you could have seen the other two cats, like they look like the cats that come off of postcards. They weren't torties. They were just, and they were fluffy and big. And I walked in and a woman said, "Oh, you were first. You can go ahead and pick." I'm like, I'm not taking either of the ones that you want. I'm like, don't worry about it. I want that one. And the funny thing is, before I went to get the cat, we had a little contest thing because I was going to let everybody on the boat vote to name the cat. And we narrowed it down to a couple of different names, and we settled on squirrel. The reason being, I have been known in the past to change the subject matter on a whim and squirrel off in a direction that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. No, I know you're thinking, but no, occasionally that will happen. So I went in to get, I walked out. She was in the cage, and she just started screaming, meowing her butt off when I left, and I'm like, I'm coming back. So I went up to the woman that was handling it. She was at a desk, it looked like a nurse's station almost, and I said, I'm wanting to adopt the cat in the middle cage in there. And she said, yeah, every room has cages. She's like, just go get the name off of the cage because it makes life a whole lot easier. And I said, I didn't even see a name on the cage. And she said, because of the paper that Squirrel had just been, she had surgery the day before. So there was a thing taped up there so they checked the wound. So I removed that. And underneath it is the name card, Squirrel. Swear to you. I took pictures of it while it was still on the cage. What are the odds of all of the names in the entire world that this cat came named? And it wasn't like it was, Mittens or one of those names that cats always get named, right? Squirrel is probably not a name a lot of cats get named. But, so she was definitely supposed to be the cabin cat. And yes, Paul, she is directly by my side. The next couple of months, at least, we're going to be talking a lot about being the change. We're going to talk a lot about being beautiful. If you're going to change who you are, if you're going to get sober, and you have the opportunity to literally mold yourself into whatever you want. And if you think what I'm saying is psychobabble or it can't be done, you're wrong. You're wrong. It happens every day. Are there minutes that I don't go back to who I was? You betcha. Yeah, there are times that I start slipping. But it's the greatest thing in the world because if I start doing anything remotely like the old Tommy, or I used to refer to him as page 2 Tommy, because that was the page that Q said, write down what people would say about you if nobody else could hear them, right? They could talk about you behind your back and no one would know. They couldn't be in trouble. What would they say about you? Well, if I start getting anywhere near that page 2, if I start doing any of those things, that's going to go long before the drugs do. I'm going to start acting like I used to long before I get high. And it's the canary in the coal mine. If I start snapping at people, if I start looking at somebody and judging them because they're overweight, honestly, that was a big one for me. I was the shallowest person you've ever met in your life. I really was. And there's another really great example. Obviously, I'm really into watches. This is what I do for a living, and I'm a historian. I really, really am into them. I know an awful lot about watches. I knew the names of every movement. I knew what made them unique. and I knew which ones were expensive and which ones weren't. I knew what companies put what movements inside the watch, and the movement is the engine. It's just the thing that's going to make the hands go around in circles, right? So part of the evolution of me, I guess, is that I don't really care about the outside of the watch the way I used to. Odd, because it's not like something that I had just picked up a couple of days ago. I had been doing this, basically since I was 12. And I picked what I thought were good watches and what watches I wanted to have anything to do with based on how flashy the outside of the case was. A whole lot like that Miss March. You know what I mean? You can get blinded by blonde hair, or you can get blinded by gold, or you can get blinded by anything that's flash, but doesn't really have a whole lot of substance. Now, in a perfect world, yeah, it's beautiful on the outside, it's beautiful on the inside. It's got a great movement, but it really is a metaphor. It is. When you begin to start looking at the inside of people instead of the outside of people, when you start caring about things that aren't on the surface, you will begin to forge relationships. With all due respect, I'm telling you right now, I probably would not be friends with 90% of the people that I'm friends with now. I would have found a reason to not like everybody on this boat. Just keeping it real. Because I had a very strict mindset. The people that I spent time with, number one, you had to be a heroin addict. That was for starters. Like if you were a tweaker, I didn't want to be around you. If your drug of choice was cocaine, I didn't want to be around you. Those things were counterproductive to what I was doing, which was heroin as often as possible. So that was huge. And then if you were a member of the opposite sex, I went first by height, then I went by weight, then I went by hair color. I didn't care about what a person had on the inside. You see, very often when you start giving into your narcissistic tendencies, right? And we all have them, especially drug addicts. But when you start, again, making yourself the center of the universe, where you and your drug habit are the only things that matter, you don't seek out a partner because they make you feel great about yourself, or because you can have just great conversations. It's no different than that watch. I honestly used to think to myself, as effed up as this is going to sound, I used to wonder what my friends would think. I remember with the Miss March going, oh man, this guy, and this guy are going to die when they see this girl. Right? They're just going to have a heart attack. That Miss March changed my life, and certainly not for the better. Right? She just really did some incredible damage that took decades to try to fix. For real, just an ugly person. As you design the new you can be ugly. It's easy. It takes no effort. It really doesn't. Just go to your basest, the basest, nastiest of who you are. You see somebody that's overweight walking across the street, mutter something that's really disrespectful. Start there. And then start judging people by things other than who they are. What they wear, where they shop, what kind of car they drive. Haircut, hair color, right? Just focus on the crap that doesn't matter. And you will become a jackwagon, I promise you. And you will very, very simply become the center of the universe. You will become the most important thing in the world. And on the bright side, that's super predictable. And this may sound really crazy to you, but I remember having a real deep dive. I spent, close to 34 months in solitary confinement. And it's me and a journal, right? Me and a journal, a Bible, and a couple of books a week that I could get brought in. And I have to trade them out. You couldn't have books in there because they're afraid you'll put them in a sack and hurt who, I don't know, since you're in there alone. Or they think you're going to make some kind of a weightlifting bag with it. But so I would get stuck in there. And I would give myself assignments. Like I would come up with things to write about. And because it would kill time, and that was, the focus of my life was killing time, trying to make time go by quickly. So I wanted to understand how I could continue to go back and do dope. Knowing everything that I know, knowing it was going to land me in prison, knowing all of those things. And the uncomfortable in your own skin, I get that. I get all of the stuff that is just a stone cold fact. But I wondered if there was anything unique to me. Not the pat answers that apply to everybody, but me. And again, I wasn't the person then that I am now. I was sober, and I was certainly moving forward in life, but I still thought I was smarter than everybody. Really, I had a real issue with that. I definitely thought I was more intelligent than all of the people around me, and that was a stumbling stone for me. If I'm so damn smart, how did I keep doing this? And people, I would write stream of conscious, right? Just journaling like as fast as my hand would write. And then sometimes I would go back and read it, and it literally made no sense. Like if they read it, they probably would have put me in a padded room. It was just ranting. But I came to the conclusion that the one thing that really I kept coming back to again and again and again, best boat and crew ever. Love this boat. Thank you, Heather. And Heather has been great to this boat. Really glad that you're here. This is a frightening concept, but this is a stone cold fact. One of the things that I was addicted to more than anything else was the simplicity. It was the simplicity of the lifestyle. All right, you see the hair? I have been spending the last 3 days contemplating whether or not I just let it grow, right? I've been bald for decades, but the life I'm living right now, I need to shave about 10 minutes off of every little place I can to pull off all of the things that I try to get done in a day. And I'm not complaining. I love the fact that I have a structured life. I love the fact that I am programming like there's no tomorrow. And I'm doing it on two things that I care very deeply about. But when you're honestly sitting around and going, well, if I stop shaving my head, I get about 10 more minutes that I can do whatever I want in the day with. That's a possibility. That's a complex life. Right? When this boat is over, I'm going to go check my emails. There will be about 5 or 6. Now, right before we went live, I checked my emails, and there were about 5 or 6. And I fired off responses to, I think, everybody this morning. And now I'm going to have to do that again as soon as this is over. I will peruse the comments. Again, I don't answer them all these days because I just don't have the time. But I will take a look at them, and if one really jumps out at me, usually I will say something. But and then I'm going to start doing my job, what I do for a living, and it will stop maybe 12 times during the course of the day. I will have to jam on the brakes for whatever I'm doing because someone's going to need help. There's going to be somebody that right then needs assistance, or they might just slide back to where they were. And there are people who are going to say, you shouldn't be doing all that, blah, 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 blah. What it boils down to is this. I like it. I like what I do. There are days that it gets overwhelming and I start sounding like page 2 Tommy, but this really is what drives my engine. This is my mission. And it is a very complex life. My previous life, the simplicity was mind-bending. There were only 3 things. I was getting high, as in the act, cooking it in a spoon, sticking it in my vein, smoking it off tin foil, whatever. I was getting high. I was stealing to get money, or I was waiting in a parking lot for the guy to deliver the dope. There was nothing else. Nothing. If somebody called me and said, you know what, a family member died, I'm not going to that funeral. And I'm not saying this as a hypothetical. One of the most important people in my life, they passed, and I sent my wife. I think I sent Spanky too. I didn't go. It was didn't fit in with my 3 things. And as far as feeling guilty about it, that didn't happen for about 9 more years, when all of that guilt hit me all at once. And you're forced to try to work through things like that, right? And it really is it's an opportunity, people. It's an opportunity that you're probably not going to get again in your life. Let me explain that. If you're not a drug addict and you're just a person out there who is not living the life that they want, and there are, these people drive entire industries of people like Tony Robbins or Zig Ziglar or any of the ones that used to, put on shows to tell you how to improve yourself. Those shows are great, by the way. Been to a ton of them. And I used to go just to sort of watch the speakers, honestly, to see how they do what they do. And if they're really good, you find yourself kind of caught up in the ether. And whatever I was doing, I would do better for a few months, because it really does get you going. And I learned a lot from a lot of the ones I went to. A lot of the ones I went to were just complete and utter BS. It just depends on who's doing it. But if you're not a drug addict and you're going to one of these things or whatever, and they say, you want to fundamentally change who you are, I don't think you got a shot. I really don't. If you're a drug addict or a person who suffers from the drug alcohol, right? But if you're addicted, when you break that addiction, you really are cleaning off the whiteboard or the chalkboard. You're taking everything away. Now, you can put it back exactly how you found it. Most people do. Most people just eliminate the chemical. Same asshole, right? Much less of a drug bill. That doesn't make the world a better place. It does not remove you from the center of the universe. It really doesn't. And very often, in my opinion, it's why the failure rate in every single form of rehab is just astounding. People talk about the 12-step programs being one of the great methods, right, for people to get sober, especially from alcohol. It really is a great method. That great method fails 80% of the time. I don't know if you knew that, but 8 out of 10 people that get into it do not get sober. And that's a success in this business. 80% failure. That beats the hell out of everybody else. So it gives you an idea of why, when you got this opportunity, this is your shot. This is your shot to not just be sober, which is huge. I mean, let's not screw around. That's life or death stuff. But when you're doing something that epic, that monumental, since you're tearing down the house, don't build a new one that looks exactly like the old one. Don't do it. Put a deck on it. Drop in a hot tub, right? Way better floors. Maybe some Italian marble, right? Big windows with a view of someplace nicer, right? You have an opportunity right now to be whatever you want to be. And I'm not doing the public speaking rah-rah. I'm not. This is a stone cold fact. You have got the opportunity right now to be whatever and whoever you want to be. Is it going to be easy as hell? No. You got to double down. You got to double down in every way. You have to continue to make these decisions every single time. But the easy litmus test in the beginning is, like yesterday we were talking about reading. If you have time or you don't have time, and there was sort of a debate on that. How much time do you have to put aside during the day for reading or whatever? The reason that I got into it the way that I did, number one, obviously I had a lot of time to kill. But number two, I wanted education. I craved it. I felt like I wasted so many years learning nothing that it was time to really start trying to make me a better human. And reading was a really easy way to do that. But the easiest litmus test for any of it is, Did you do a lot of reading when you were shooting dope every day? How many books did you knock out in 30 years of drug addiction? And the answer to that question, I think, was 3. And Alice in Wonderland is a book that I read constantly, so that doesn't even shouldn't count. And the Bible, right? So I might have read one book that was either nonfiction or a novel in 30 years. So I'm going to read. The new me, it's going to be well read. That was a decision I made, and I have stuck with it. And I've always got something going. I'm always reading something. Always. It's good for my mind. Am I telling you to become a reader? No. I don't give a crap what you become. But don't become what you were. This is a golden opportunity to make yourself better. And you're already shocking the crap out of your system. You're already shocking the ever-loving hell out of your system. So why not just go the whole 9 yards? Right? You've been living addicted to a chemical and letting that chemical run your life for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, whatever the case may be. Now you're going to not let that drug at the helm anymore. Why would you get into that same position and say, I'm just going to do exactly what the dope did, right? I let the dope have the wheel for 30 years, and it landed me in prison and destroyed everybody that I touched. But all I'm going to do is get rid of the heroin. This should work out. No. It wouldn't have. It wouldn't have worked out at all. And everybody would have hated me. And I'll tell you something, people. The biggest adjustment that I had to get used to after leaving being incarcerated, when you're in there, you're hated. The only emotion that you come across in there is hate, right? This group hates that group. The guards hate the inmates hate the guards hate being there, the inmates hate being there. It's just hate. It's wall-to-wall hate, and you can taste it. You can smell it. It's just overwhelming. And as I left, I came into a world where I started very quickly doing this. And there was so much love. People were really happy that there was a platform like this, and it really took an awful lot to get used to. Seriously, it shocked me. Full of hope. I still love you in spite of the fact that you just said you don't like Alice in Wonderland. Yee. Someday, maybe I will tell the story of how that made me feel. The whole Alice in Wonderland thing, how it came about, why I'm a fan, whatever, why I own hundreds of Alice in Wonderland books, and why I have one arm completely sleeved out to Alice in Wonderland. There's obviously something really big in there, and maybe someday I'll share that with the boat. But it's not something that I've told a lot of people. M. Hunt says, as a child, I thought it was a horror film. If Tommy Bird, I'm with you. If you see it in the cartoon version, it's still like the 1957 Disney film. You still felt like that was a horror film? Well, you know something else? It is a book everybody has an opinion on. For real. It is such a part of our culture. If you turn on the news and you watch it for 24 hours, they're going to make at least one Alice in Wonderland reference. At least one. At every 24-hour period of time. They will. There will be a down the rabbit hole, how deep the rabbit hole goes. Curiouser and curiouser. That one gets thrown out a lot. Smiling like a Cheshire cat or grinning like a Cheshire cat. There are just so many things that are recurring that, they're just such a part of our society that a lot of people don't even know where it came from. Tweedledee and Tweedledum, Humpty Dumpty. There's just a lot of things. Humpty Dumpty technically was not created by Lewis Carroll, but nobody in the world knew anything about it until Lewis Carroll put it in Alice in Wonderland, and he changed the lyrics up a little bit. Humpty Dumpty ain't Alice. You're telling me that Humpty Dumpty is not in the book Alice in Wonderland? Oh, I assure you he is. Christopher, if you're getting black eyes from coughing, you need to go to the doctor immediately. I'm not kidding. That's heavy duty. That's heavy duty. If you're getting black eyes from coughing, look, man, you absolutely cannot stay out. You can't. You need to go see a doctor. That's not something that you can. That's not something that you can put off. That's honestly, I'm not a doctor, but I'm telling you to go see one. Please do that. Please. Yeah, M. Hunt. He said that maybe cerebral pressure is building up. I've had bad things go off in my brain, and it's go to the emergency room. I'm not farting around. You need to go to the emergency room. Can we get some ones out there, some prayers for Christopher, because that to me is frightening. And we're gonna pray for you. But Christopher, listen to me, good dude. Please go. Please. Why the hell wouldn't you? For real. When things start getting plugged up in there, right? Two things can happen. You can have what's called an ischemic attack, where everything kind of backs up. Nothing explodes, but it backs up and it goes and turns your computer off, right? And that's, if you look at my eyes, you'll see that one is not like the other, because one side was at one point, completely drooping. But good to hear you share those stories. I gotta go. Off to sleep. It's almost midnight. Okay, my friend. You take it easy. And you look like somebody famous, and I can't remember who it is, and it's been driving me nuts since I saw you. Luke Skywalker. Yeah, you know what? Heather Joy, what's your opinion? Heather is in the healthcare field. You know what I mean? Heather's legit. Yeah, you know what? I just went up and she said, go. See that? Now you have somebody who's a professional. Me and my consultant psychologist spent months discussing my hatred of Alice and the Looking Glass. I'm not as big a fan of Through the Looking Glass. I mean, I still dig it, but it's I don't know. I think if you take the both of them sort of in totality as one story, it's kind of a little bit better. But again, this is something that you hear. You're not the first person to tell me that. You're really not. I've heard that from a lot of people. ZW, thank you so much. Yeah, Lady Fiona Crispin says, I can't go back to yesterday because I was a different person then. Absolutely one of my favorite quotes from Alice. Absolutely one of my favorite quotes. It really is. Yeah, and thanks, ZW, for all the support, just constantly. You're just one of those people. Guys, I'm having a rough morning. Stress has me kind of kicking myself around. I love you guys, but I'm going to step away. I'll see you all tonight, God willing. God willing, we will be here. And take care of yourself. Please. Yeah, Christopher, go to the ER. Please go to the ER. That's the problem with alcohol. You can always go back to yesterday. It's in a bottle. It ruins today and tomorrow, though. Hans, you say a lot of things that are really poignant. I've actually started writing some of them down. Because you really, one of the ones that really killed me is if I was a friend of mine, I would take better care of myself. That one I really liked. My happy place is actually Alice in Wonderland, a version thereof. No, crazy but true. The story of the Wizard of Oz is satire as well against the Federal Reserve and the petrodollar. The so many of these books have absolutely nothing to do with what you think they have something to do with. You know what I mean? There's like that. There are these underlying themes. In Alice, there is a guy named Marvin Gardner who took the time to research every single thing that Lewis Carroll said and then do research of what that expression meant in his time period and who were the politicians and whatever in his time period. And it is a really, it's really bizarre. And he did an annotated version of it. And it's that thick because there's literally not anything in that book that is what it seems, which makes it a lot of fun. Stand for truth. Stand for truth. Are you having a bad time? I'm late. Need a prayer, fam. Still sober, but going through hell. Stand for truth. One of my favorite quotes of all time is, if you're going through hell, keep going. Right? That was Winston Churchill. If you're going through hell, keep going. If you're having a really bad time, don't jam on the brakes where you are. Keep moving forward because this too shall pass. And if it's something that is just overwhelming and you think that there's a chance, I have bit my tongue today about 7 times. The back of it. That's what happens when you talk too much. If you feel like you're going to slip, please reach out to somebody on the boat, me, anybody else. You know, just send somebody a message because we don't need that to happen. You don't need that to happen. We need to get you through this hell part because it's going to get better. It always does. It really does. It's very, very rare that once you eliminate the chemicals. Now, that said, it doesn't go perfect for everybody instantly. My daughter and I are bringing lunch over to my parents' house. Can't get any better. You know what? It can't, can it? It can't. Emma Hunt, I'm so damn happy for you. Christopher, I finally had to cave in and go to the dentist. I totally didn't want to, but I did it. Sometimes you just have to do things you don't want to do to take care of yourself. Please go. And you know what? This is your adopted family here, right? We say you can choose your family. It's one of the things that we just keep saying over and over again. They say you can't choose your family. We say, of course you can. So every brother and sister you got is saying, please go to the emergency room. Don't do anything other than that. M. Hunt, I really am. It's just such a beautiful thing. I love it. Anytime your girl is there, it's just, I feel like, you know, I have been on this ride with you at least for the last year, and it's just, I love where you're at. I really do. It is one of those things that just I can sit and think about and smile. I know she is. He says she's my everything. I've got one of those too. I'm picking her up at the airport on Monday. My girl is coming out to see me, so I'm pretty happy about that. Yeah, see if I can't get her to co-host a show. I don't think she would do that, but please do, Emma Hunt. Please do. That would be awesome. I would really love to see some pics of the two of you. I would love that. I would absolutely love that. Alrighty, people. We have 5 more minutes before the festivities here on the lifeboat come to an end. It'll be 6 o'clock in the morning where I live. I'll tell you what. I started this day at 3. There was just a lot of things that there's a lot of things that I had to get done before I could do the boat. So I got up and I started knocking out all of the things that I needed to do, and it was productive. It really was. Charlie, that link doesn't work. Was that a link to me? Is it my link that doesn't work? Oh no. Well, that's no good. Sorry, people. And I got to go to a doctor too. It's not life-threatening. It's not anything like that. But I have the worst. I thought they were allergies, but they don't go away. I just have this sinus thing going on that it's constant. And I can't take like a real antihistamine. I can't take because it'll throw off drug tests. The Bad News Report Weekly. Geoengineering Watch. Dane Wingington. My wreck. Okay. Oh, Facebook. So, as I was saying, I got up at 3 o'clock. And as I'm trying to put together some thoughts for the lifeboat this morning, it occurs to me that it seemed to me that this was the embodiment of everything I'm talking about. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm awake, and I'm doing stuff that has nothing to do with benefiting, me financially or moving. It really is about trying to help people. And I'm saying that you can go from being whatever you were to whatever you want to be. And I'm I'm coming up with this at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's living proof, people. The only time I ever saw 3 o'clock in the morning was when I came into it from the night before. I never got up at 3 o'clock in the morning for anything or anyone. That's just not how it works. But yeah, tonight at 5 o'clock, we will be going live again on the deck of the lifeboat. Between now and then, I want you to reach out and try to save somebody. We had a lot of people show up here this morning. I am so glad that we began to do this again. Don't you do it. You know what? She's been in the back the whole time, and now she's going to start trying to destroy the desk. You little snot. Oh, great. She digs the whole shoulder kitty thing. In fact, very often, no matter where I'm standing, Squirrel will just launch herself onto or just put her butt on my head. There you go. That's nice. Alrighty, peeps. I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and that is a squirrel on a shoulder. Is that a squirrel? All right. Have a great day, peeps. Yeah, get off me, squirrel. You little snot.